Chapter 3 The Island of None. I have to get the Flame of the Dead to unlock the skill, Nameless King's forms. But where will I find it? Wain muttered. He was puzzled by the situation. Wain decided that he would figure it out as he went along and decided to check the description of another skill he had after getting a soul, Nameless King. Destruction Sword, Primary Chronicle Active Skill, Common Rating. You can summon a sword partly composed of darkness and control it at will. Range 50 meters. Not bad. I'll have to develop this skill if possible. But first, I need to find someone and kill them. Without many souls, I won't be able to do anything, thought Wain. He saw nothing around him that reminded him of human civilization, not even ruins or abandoned houses. He was in a lifeless, ashy desert. Wain sighed and decided to go forward. He had nothing with him except his knife and small, folding binoculars. If he did not find food and water sources soon, he would die of exhaustion. Force the essence of the world to retreat and then die of dehydration 3 days later. That would be some unfunny joke, thought Wain as he continued walking forward for 3 hours straight. The only vegetation in this ashy desert was the few dry trees. There wasn't a drop of moisture in him, much less any fruit. Wain continued onward, pondering the events that had transpired. Initially, he thought the dark mist would kill him. But in the end, he was able to force his way through to the other world and even gain a soul. This meant that his journey wasn't over yet. It was just beginning. 2 hours later, Wain saw a lizard of abnormal size in the distance. It was about 1 meter high and 3 meters wide. Is it a mutant? Or are there monsters in this world too? Thought Wain looking at the lizard. It was trying to dig something up in the ashy sand at that moment. It was an unsuccessful endeavor, for all it could find were bones. I was lucky. My dinner was waiting for me on the way, said Wain to himself and used the destruction sword. Since the range of this skill was 50 meters, Wain created a sword right over the lizard. By the time the reptile suspected something, it was already too late. The dark sword collapsed on the lizard and easily cut off its head. Wain smiled and headed toward the reptile's carcass. In addition to food, he would also get a soul. Barring the soul of the guardian of this world, this would be the first soul he would receive. Whoosh! A white, tiny soul flew out of the lizard's body and into Wain's body. He immediately looked at the spoils he received. Soul of the ash lizard, damaged. Chronicle. Primary. Rating. Common. Of course, compared to the Nameless King's soul, this soul was trash, but such souls could also be of considerable benefit. Damaged. Maybe I should use it, thought Wain. In this world, creature souls were globally divided into 3 categories: whole, damaged, and destroyed. Each category of soul differed in its effect. For example, if you crush some whole soul, there is a chance of getting a skill or item. Perhaps the skill or item would have something in common with the soul of the killed creature, or perhaps it would be very different. Each soul also gave its owner specific bonuses and one ability. Of course, this was only the beginning. A soul could be made much stronger and more variable. But, at this point, there was a nuance that Wain was well aware of. If he put this soul into his soul altar, in case he didn't need it anymore, he would have to destroy it, and he wouldn't get any bonuses. Wain doubted that the soul of some weak lizard was worth his attention. Too bad I can only have 1 extra soul for now. Well, let's see what I get, mumbled Wain and crushed the soul. You have acquired the soul of the ash lizard. You have acquired the soul essence of ash lizard level 2. Agility +2, stamina +1. You have reached level 1. You get 3 status points to distribute freely. Wain would not get a stat boost when using destroyed soul, only soul essence. That was the main difference between the 2 categories of souls. Not bad. Pity I can't get a skill or item by crushing a damaged soul. Speaking of which, it's time to look at my status. There must have been a lot of changes, Wain muttered, and an image appeared in front of him the next moment. Wain Norheim. Level 1. Race: human. Soul: Nameless King. Additional soul: none. Title: none. Status points: 3. Strength, 7. Agility, 11. Vitality, 6. Stamina, 9. Energy, 77. Why is the energy parameter so high? Wain thought to himself. Unlike the other characteristics, energy had a special purpose. It was a parameter that determined the power of the skills a person used and the time of action. The more energy people had, the longer you could fight. Previously, everyone except Wain had this parameter since he was the only one who didn't have a soul. But, now, this parameter was finally open. There was so much power lurking in me, understandably. Wain was not surprised. There was no limit to his self-confidence. After all, he was the one who had the power to decide the fates of entire countries before the world changed. Wain swung his hand, and the dark sword cut the dried wood into several bars. Wain could control the sword with his mind, but manual control was more accurate and quicker. It was a matter of practice and experience. Next, Wain gutted the ash lizard and quickly lit a fire. With his survival skills, such a thing was easy to do. By the time the ash lizard meat was roasted to a crisp, it was already dark, and the blue moon was illuminating the ashy lands. Wain happily ate the very juicy and tasty meat and regained his strength. But, the water problem was still fundamental. When Wain had eaten about half of it, he saw some silhouette heading in his direction. "Does someone live here? Is it a person?" warned Wain. He had not seen a single hint of human presence in several hours of traveling through this area. The figure heading toward Wain was dressed in a gray, half-torn cloak, and in his hands was a simple wooden staff on which he leaned. "Good afternoon, young man." A hoarse voice was heard. The speaker was an old man in his 70s. But he didn't look human. He had gray skin, completely white eyes, and black fingernails. Moreover, he had 2 short horns on his head, one of which was broken. Wain nodded and said, "What do you want?" Immediately after, Wain used the destruction sword. The dark sword loomed over the old man's head. Wain was not about to let his guard down. The old man crouched next to Wain and said, "My name is Marak Ronik." "What is your name?" He was not embarrassed by the sword looming over him. "Wain Norheim," he answered briefly, staring intently at Marak. "Cough, cough, cough." The old man coughed a few times then said, "Wain, do you mind if I join you? I haven't eaten anything in days." "Why would I help you?" Wain asked. "In return, I'll tell you more about this place. You know, it's not often you meet new people here, or rather never. I was shocked to see someone building a fire and roasting a lizard on the fire. You probably don't know anything about this place." Marak said confidently. "This old man isn't easy. I doubt he's lying. He knew at a glance that I wasn't from around here. That's not surprising, though." Wain thought and handed the old man a piece of meat strung on a knife. But, the destruction sword continued to hang over Marak's head like a sword of Damocles. Marak nodded and gladly took up his meal. The lizard was large enough to feed several people. "Speak," Wain said stiffly. Well, don't be so impatient. Without intrigue, there won't be any interest," proclaimed Marak and swallowed another piece of meat. Wain waved his finger, and the destruction sword began to swing from side to side like a pendulum. "Okay, let's get started. Wain, I'll start by saying that the place we're on is an island. It's not very big. You can get around it in about a week. But, it's not an ordinary island. It doesn't exist." "What do you mean?" Wain asked. "You must have seen a dark pillar that pierced the sky a few hours ago." "I don't know what it was. The whole world has seen that pillar, all those who live in other parts of this world. But, they will never find that island in their lives. It is impossible. Otherwise, some traveler would have come here a long time ago." "But how is that possible? And can I get off this island?" Wain asked. The prospect of remaining in an ashy desert where the occasional giant lizard could be found did not appeal to him. He had to find a way to the people here. Otherwise, his journey would end here. Khe, this island does not exist because it is both in the world of the living and the world of the dead. Otherwise, this island is also called the Isle of the Damned." Marak swallowed a piece of meat and quietly said, Everyone knows the way to escape from here, but it requires fulfilling impossible conditions." Wain looked at the old man with interest. To get out of the Isle of the Damned, one must combine both the energy of the living and the energy of the dead. To do so, the living must receive the flame of the dead, which lies in the bowels of this island. Chapter 4: The Damned. The Flames of the Dead. Wain thought. This was exactly what he needed to unlock the Nameless King's forms skill. Moreover, the general conditions were the same. To get out of the Isle of the Damned, Wain also needed to possess the living and dead energy. "Why hasn't anyone taken this flame you speak of yet? You don't look like a dead man," Wain asked. Merak smiled strangely and, with a slight bitterness in his voice, said, "You're right, I'm not dead. But I'm not alive either." Wain looked at him, puzzled. He didn't understand how he could be in such a situation. The old man sighed and said, "You can see perfectly well that I am not human, though once upon a time I was. At that time, we fought for kingdoms and our hearts. But hundreds of years have passed since then. I am neither alive nor dead. I am cursed like everyone else here. So are you. We can't leave this island even if we get the flame of the dead. There's no way we can get the energy of the living. We are destined to wander this lifeless land forever. A cruel fate," thought Wain. Merak, "Where is the flame of the dead? How can I get to it? I still want to try." Wain believed Merak's words, but unlike the old man, he was alive. I once met a rookie like you, and he even managed to get to the flame of the dead. But his body couldn't take it. You must understand that we are cursed and here for some reason. Perhaps this is our punishment for past sins." Merak spoke with regret. "Better to die than lead such a miserable existence. Show me," coldly said Wain, and the destruction sword began to gradually lower. The old man sighed and said, "To the north of the island, you will see the ruins. As far as I know, the flame of the dead is located there." Wain nodded and headed silently in the direction indicated. He could not delay. He had to get off this island as soon as possible and join the inhabitants of this world. When Wain had already moved more distance, Merak muttered quietly, "None of us want to live like this, but no matter how much we try, we can't die." The old man stood up, and under his cloak, you could see that there was a wide hole in his chest. It was a wound incompatible with life. After about a couple of kilometers, Wain encountered another ash lizard. This lizard was sleeping quietly, not even aware that the dark sword was hovering over its head. Wain swung his hand, and the lizard was killed. The white soul immediately flew out of her body and hovered in the air. Why do these souls always have to go after them on their own?" Wain muttered grudgingly. But, suddenly, the white soul flew toward him on its own and entered his body. Soul of the ash lizard, whole. Chronicle. Primary. Rating. Common. What? The soul flew itself to me. But I've never heard of such a thing. What's more, this whole soul, great. The chances of getting a whole soul were rather slim. As with the last soul, Wain wouldn't put this soul into his soul altar. He would use it and try to get a skill or item. You have acquired the soul essence of Ash Lizard level 2. Agility +4, stamina +2. You have leveled up to level 2. You get 3 status points to distribute freely. This time Wain got twice as many status points, although this lizard was no different from the previous one. But, the integrity of its soul was different, which is why there was such a difference. But, Wain was lucky to get something else besides stats. In Wain's hands was a book made from the hide of some lizard. He knew what it was. "So this is my first skill book," Wain muttered and put his palm on the book. Lizards - Primary Chronicle Active Skill, Common Rating. Lizards are fast and nimble creatures, and you get a piece of their power. You can make a quick dash in one direction and cross the 5-meter mark almost instantly. After applying Agility +5 for 30 seconds. This was the first skill Wain had ever received, but he could also understand that this skill was pretty good for its rating. In the past world, he had gathered a lot of information about souls and skills, hoping that he would find a way to awaken his soul. An active skill with a passive effect, not bad at all. 5 agility is quite a lot. I could kill a few people in those 30 seconds, thought Wain. The next moment the skill book turned into a complex rune and moved into Wain's inventory. If Wain wanted to use this skill, he had to move it to his soul altar. At this point, Wain could only have 3 active skills. There were no restrictions on passive skills, but they didn't have the same vivid effect as active skills. These restrictions existed because of Wain's lack of power. If he tried to move in his soul altar, the 4th active skill, his body would be torn apart. He had to get stronger to get more abilities. Wain didn't hesitate and mentally moved the skill rune into his soul altar. Wain felt a rush of strength, and the necessary knowledge filled his mind. All right. It's time to put this to the test. There was a dried tree not far from Wain, and it was the one he had chosen as his target. Whoosh! Soul essence headed toward Wain's feet, and he was a blur the next moment. In less than a second, he reached the tree. It wasn't teleportation. It was a rapid dash to one side, as evidenced by the smooth trail on the ashy sand. Agility has improved. I feel like I'm getting a little faster, thought Wain and moved on. His first skill was nothing unique or unusual. But Wain was still extremely pleased. The old man said the ruins are to the north, but I've been walking for quite some time, but I haven't found anything, Wain muttered. He looked around and saw a man in a long cloak walking toward him. This man walked past Wain. He was just wandering among this ashy desert like a hermit. Wait, where is the flame of the dead? Wain asked. Another one. A hoarse voice was heard. The ruins are over that hill. He answered briefly, pointing in the direction. Wain nodded and headed toward the hill. He didn't notice it, but the man in the cloak had his head hanging apart from his neck. There they are, Wain said contentedly, looking at the ruins buried beneath the ash. The entrance was in front of a hill and looked like a circular staircase going deep down. There were no monsters around, so Wain made his way there without fear. Wain wasn't afraid of scary monsters or dangerous opponents, and it wasn't because of his boundless self-confidence. He had only encountered 2 very weak lizards in all that time. Wain was sure he could kill them even without using the skill. In his opinion, ash lizards were just 2 big lizards. Dim, green torches lighted the descent into the ruins. Various drawings and carvings on the walls gave the place an ancient aura. What's that? Wain muttered, looking at the stone tablet. Strange symbols were written on it, but Wain could read them to his surprise. When the ash burns again, the savior of the damned will go to the frosty shore to his guide. Wain paid no attention to this phrase and moved on. He decided it was some ancient prophecy. After a couple of turns, Wain found himself in a spacious room. There he saw the bodies of the dead lying against the walls. Their skin is gray, just like that old man's, but they don't have horns, and they look dead. It's all weird, thought Wain, and one of the corpses began to rise slowly the next moment. It opened its green eyes and stared intimidatingly at Wain. Wain used the lizard's dash and instantly got in front of the reanimated dead man and smashed his head into the wall. Soul of Hollow, destroyed. Chronicle. Primary. Rating. Common. These creatures are called Hollow. Curious. Wain thought and crushed the white soul. You have acquired the soul essence of Hollow level 1. Since it was destroyed soul, he only acquired soul essence. He couldn't get a stat boost, much less an item. I wonder how much soul essence I would need to use to improve a skill or additional soul. Wain wondered. But he didn't have time to think. About 10 hollows rose and slowly headed in his direction. They reminded him of zombies. They were just as dumb and slow. Whoosh! Wain waved his hand, and a dark sword appeared in the air. Then Wain twirled his finger in a circle, and the sword began to spin at great speed. It was like a sharp disc. I'm getting more and more used to this skill, thought Wain, and sent the dark sword slicing heads with a wave of his hand. A few seconds later, Wain emerged from a room full of corpses. Blue blood flowed from the severed heads and quickly covered the entire floor. Wain walked through corridors that were lit by dim torches. In several passages, he encountered no hallow. but he saw many ruined statues and ancient frescoes. Merak said that the flame of the dead is here. But when I find it, what will I have to do? Pondered Wain. What is it? Wain muttered as he walked into the great hall. In the center of the room was an anvil, embraced by a massive pillar of green flame. Around the anvil flew several spirits resembling blacksmiths. They struck the anvil every second with spirit hammers, and the flames flared even brighter. The enchanting ringing of the spirit hammers reached Wain's ears, and then the guardian of that tomb began to awaken.